Good morning. Today is March 13th, 2024. My name is Joe Reingold, and I am here interviewing Kathy Garber. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning.
Tell us a bit about what you know of the history of your family, where your grandparents were, where they lived, what they did, and your parents, and then on up into your early childhood.
Okay. So my grandparents are originally my mom's side from Kansas City, which is where I grew up. And my grandparents on the other side lived in Sioux City, Iowa. All of them came originally from Eastern Europe. And I'll tell you a little story. My great-grandmother, who was like under 5 feet tall, she came to St. Louis, Missouri when she was 13. She came alone, didn't know English. She got married. She ended up having like 10 children. And she would have a child in the morning, the story goes, and in the afternoon she would go into their store. They had hardware, and she would sell hardware in the afternoon. She was a pretty strong lady. And if people were coming by, someone would knock on the door. Any extra knock meant an extra visitor, an extra bowl of soup or something. So anyway, she was really amazing. I never met her.
Do you know where she was from originally?
I do not.
No. I'm just curious about how she got to
Right.
St. Louis.
Right,
But, yeah.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Kansas City. My family is a family of a lot of bankers. So my father was a banker, is a banker, I should say. He just turned 90 not that long ago, and he currently still works 5 days a week, which is amazing.
Yes.
My grandfather was a banker, my uncle was a banker, another uncle was a banker, and I was a banker at one point.
Oh.
So my brother is currently a banker with my father. So they actually own a bank in Independence, Missouri.
Okay. So you say you grew up there.
Uh-huh.
And what was your childhood like? What kind of things did you get involved in?
Okay, I had a great childhood. I have 2 brothers, an older and a younger brother, so I was right in the middle. And it was just a perfect childhood, I would say. I was very active in school, and I loved to jump a lot, so I was a cheerleader from 5th grade through 12th grade, so I would always go around my house jumping and flipping and cartwheeling. And my brother said, if you had put that much energy in a sport, you'd be really good at something. But I loved the cheerleading.
Mm-hmm.
And later I might tell you that even today I do cartwheels because I'm on a dance team.
Ah.
So anyway, I love that. I was very into school. I was a serious student. So I loved school. I had a nice neighborhood, nice family. Really, I was always going somewhere, doing something. So I was very involved in school. I was senior class, secretary, and I did forensics, which is competitive speech. What else did I do? So just really always had something going and had a lot of fun. I loved school. I kind of loved where I was at. So I thought each stage was fun.
Was your family involved in anything Jewishly in the community?
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yes. My family is still members of Beth Shalom, which is a conservative synagogue in Kansas City. In fact, a rabbi from Dallas moved there, from Shereth Israel, is currently their head rabbi. I'm trying to remember his name. But, so I had a bat mitzvah, and back in the day, when I was 13, girls were only allowed to conduct a Friday night service. So I loved that, and I did everything I could possibly do on Friday night, but we were not allowed to read Torah. My 2 brothers had bar mitzvahs on Saturdays. But anyway, so finally, I'm supposed to go chronologically, but when my first son was bar mitzvahed, I finally got to read Torah. And since I had never done it, I thought, well, I might as well really do it. So the first time I ever read, I read 21 verses, which is kind of a lot. So I would go around my neighborhood singing my Hebrew portion. So anyway, but no, I had a nice Jewish upbringing. I went to Hebrew school twice a week and on Sundays, got confirmed. Loved being Jewish. I was actually probably more involved in my school than some of the Jewish activities. I did those somewhat, but I was really into school. And it kind of, in my school, you almost had to pick. So I loved the Jewish things, went to tons of bar mitzvah parties, but I went to Shawnee Mission South High School and really jumped, in on all cylinders.
What did you do after high school?
After high school, I went to the University of Texas in Austin, and I went there and I got an undergraduate degree in finance, and then I stayed and got an MBA. And
how did you make your decision to come here to UT?
well, it's interesting. My brother went to University of Texas in Austin, and I thought, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to discover someplace different. So I looked all over, and I kept comparing everything to Texas because I had visited him just to visit him when I was a junior, not even looking at the school. But everything was like, God, Texas has this. And then after going through this whole evolution, I thought, you know what? I think I love Texas. So I ended up going to UT, and I think it's the best decision, probably one of them I've ever made. And then my younger brother also went. And coincidentally, or not so coincidentally, my husband went to Texas, which is where I met him. And kind of a funny story, I was in accounting class, and he sat next to me in an accounting class, and the big, huge classes, so I didn't know names. And he would always come late, every time. So finally, and he sat right next to me on the front row, I would say, where are you coming from? And he'd say, oh, this class, it's far away. It turns out it was the same class I came from. It just, I hurried the class, and he meandered. Anyway, I always called him my smart accounting friend because he would come to class, come late, never know what the homework was, do it during class, and always did it great. So anyway, we became friends my sophomore year and then started dating my senior year. But the reason I mention him is because his name is Avi. He went to Texas, and his 3 siblings went to Texas, and his parents went to Texas, and our 2 sons went to Texas. So from 4 people in my immediate family, we have 9 degrees from the University of Texas in Austin. So we are.
You must have really loved it there.
We loved it there.
That's great.
We still love going to Austin.
Did you stay in Austin after you graduated, or did you have other plans?
I had other plans. So I was there for undergrad and grad, and then I got my MBA and wanted to go into banking. So at the time, Dallas banks were booming, and I had several offers, and I went to work for Republic Bank downtown. I had a great training program. Worked there for probably 5 years, and then I went to North Park National Bank, which was Ray Nasher's bank right by North Park Mall, and that was a great community bank, which was kind of always my goal, is to work there. And I was in commercial lending, and I made it all the way to senior vice president. And in fact, I remember one particular loan I shared. It was a participation with my dad in Independence, Missouri, which was kind of neat. So we had a mutual client, and the loan was so big that we shared it. Yeah. So I remember going to Kansas City, Independence for work, which was kind of neat. We shared that experience. And then I loved working. And then I had my first son. So I worked on a Friday, and then on Labor Day, literally, I had my son.
Well, I want to back up 1 second. Tell us when and where did you get married, and then did your husband also have or want to have work here in Dallas, or did he have other ideas?
I got married in Kansas City at the same place that my parents had gotten married at, which is kind of neat.
Yes.
So it was great. It was in Kansas City, and then I moved back to Dallas. My husband went to undergrad, got a accounting degree, and then he got a law degree. And so he also went to Dallas. He is from Dallas. In fact, his mom, Bella Garber, is 96, and she still lives in the home that he grew up in Lake Highlands. She's an amazing lady. So that's kind of how we came to Dallas.
Okay. Now go ahead. So you had your first child.
So one of the very best days of my life, I've talked about my wedding. Another one was when I had my first son on Labor Day. So I worked on a Friday, had him on Monday of Labor Day, and they offered I could come back part-time or I could delay. Anyway, I decided that I really wanted to stay home. So I did, and that was a great decision. So my first son, Teddy Garber, is now 31, and he was a delight. That was the best thing ever, having him, only to be equaled when I had my second son 21 months later, and his name is Tommy Garber. So I loved it. I was totally into their things, and I went on every field trip they ever took until finally, I guess when Tommy, my younger one, was in high school, senior high school, he said, there was a field trip, I remember, to SMU, something about Spanish art. And he goes, you know what? I don't think you should come on this field trip. So finally, after all those years of going on everything, I stopped going. But one of the coolest trips we took was, my kids went to Plano schools, and Frankfurt Middle School did a really cool thing. They had this PACE, a Gifted Children or Gifted Students program, and one spring break, they took 2 grades, and my kids were in back-to-back grades, to Washington, D.C., and the teacher asked if I'd like to be the chaperone. So I was, and it turned out to be great.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent a whole week in D.C., which was really fun. And I told my sons, who were like, oh my, you're going. I told them I won't even talk to you. You know, I'll be there. But anyway, it worked out great. It was really, really fun.
What kind of things other than school were you involved in when you moved to Dallas originally, and what are you doing now?
Okay. Originally, my husband and I played on sports teams. We would do co-ed softball, and I'm trying to think what I was involved in way back then. I was really involved in banking, and I was a member of some business associations, and even a Toastmasters group.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else. Still, always we were active Texas X's, so we would go back to Texas for the football games. I was in a sorority. I was in Orange Jackets and mortarboard and Pi Beta Kappa, so sometimes we would have reunions, and we'd go back for those type of things. And then, once I had my kids, as I said, that I went on all the field trips. In addition, one time, I remember Teddy, my oldest one's first grade teacher, said, do you play chess? And I said, yes. Mm-hmm. And they wondered if I would come teach the first graders how to play chess during school. And I said, sure. So I remember it was really a very interesting experience, because when kids are that age, really, everyone likes playing games. So I remember we had this life-size chessboard. We had black and white, and I lined them up from tallest to shortest, so we would be the people from kings to rooks. And then we would play chess as people. And then we would come every week, and they actually got really good. And we ended up starting a chess club at Jackson Elementary. And it went all the way from 1st through 5th grade. And the club kept getting bigger, and I kept going back once a week to teach these kids in 2nd, 3rd, 4th. And then finally they were really better than I was, but it was still really good. It was very enjoyable from my perspective to watch these kids grow from when they're in 1st grade and they lose and they cry to learning that that's part of chess, and strategy and patience and teamwork. And anyway, it was really a great experience. And then when my oldest son went to middle school, I was going to stop running the chess club, and he did an interesting thing. He hated for the chess club to stop, so he said, I'll run it. Now, he's a 6th grader. And I said, how's that going to work? Your school hours are different. And he said, I'll just do it before school. So Teddy ran the chess club at Jackson Elementary at 7 a.m., so he'd run it for an hour and then go to school. They had 80 kids in this program. They had to have different sessions, and they ended up competing with other schools. And he provided just the right hybrid so that the next year there was someone that would run the chess club. So they had the chess club continued.
That's
that
wonderful.
was kind of a fun thing. And to this day, my kids still play chess. They play online, speed chess, all kinds of chess.
That's great. It's a great skill to have, that's
Yes,
for sure.
Yes.
Can you think of anybody along the way that you would consider your mentor?
Yeah, but first I want to go back and
okay.
tell you what I'm into now.
Okay,
Okay?
sure.
Okay, so once my kids went to college, I really needed something, and I decided that I was going to go to the Dallas Holocaust Museum, which is what it was called at the time, and I got trained to be a docent, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And then about 4 years, now the Holocaust Museum moved to this great big independent 50,000 square foot facility called the Dallas Holocaust and Human Rights Museum, and now I'm a docent educator there, and I thoroughly love it. It's an amazing museum, and it covers all kinds of things. And one of our most important themes is talking about upstanders. A lot of people say, how can you work at the Holocaust Museum? And I tell them that it's really inspiring. It's a terrible time in history, but the way it's presented at our museum is we talk about the tiny percentage of the population during the Holocaust that helped people, the upstanders. People that saved children or hid Jews or did incredible things. And so hopefully as you go to this big museum, we leave you with the message that you can make a difference, and that this is a hopeful journey, that we learn from the past to make a better future. And it really gives me hope to see, we have so many students, I think it was up to maybe 80,000 students last year that came through, and some of these students have no idea what the Holocaust is or anything, even who is a Jew. And our goal is to get them through the museum and really explain what happened and who the Jews are and who the Nazis, the collaborators were, and how we can all do things to make it better. And especially in today's environment with anti-Semitism growing by leaps and bounds, it's even more important to educate, to communicate, to let people realize that Jewish people are just like everyone else. In addition, one other thing that I'm involved with is with the ADL. I'm a facilitator, and what we do is we go into schools and businesses, and we talk about no place for hate. So we actually have schools that sign up to be a no place for hate school, and the schools come up with programs that they want to do through the year. And at the end, if they've accomplished these goals, they get a big banner that says they're a no place for hate school. In addition, we have other programs. One's called A World of Difference, and we go in there, we talk about anti-bias education. We all have bias, but if we can learn what they are, we can deal with them, and we can treat them in ways learning to respect everyone and appreciate diversity. So that's been an incredible program. We also have a third program called Words to Action, where it really deals head-on with anti-Semitism. So those are programs that I love to do. One other thing that I'm involved with is through the Federation, there's a committee called the JCRC Committee. And one of my favorite programs from that committee is called Student to Student. So that's a program where Jewish students go into non-Jewish student classrooms, like maybe private schools, and they talk about what it means to be a Jew. And it's a great program because it's peer-to-peer. So you can have a student, a high school student, talk to another high school student. First they talk about what Jewish holidays are, what it means to be Jewish, and then what their hobbies are. But the best part of the program is when they open it up to questions. And these students can ask a Jewish person, do you date Jews only? And interesting, they have a group of Jews, and the answers are varied. Some do date Jews, they choose to. Some choose to date anyone. So it lets non-Jewish students realize that you can't just categorize Jews are not just one thing. They're a huge group of people, just like other groups of people with all kinds of differences. And we also highlight similarities. Like they'll say, what do you like to do after school? Soccer, listen to music, be with my friends. So it's just a wonderful program that I think improves the communication between Jewish students and non-Jewish students.
That's fantastic. You're a busy lady.
Yeah, but I think it's fun. And I'll add one more thing, because I do a lot of serious work, but one of the fun things I do is I'm a part of this team called the Dallas Tap Dazzlers. And what we do, it's a senior tap group. So you have to be 50 and up. So we go around to senior living facilities. We just performed at the Legacy Midtown recently, and we do tap dances. We might do 6 numbers, and the fun thing, hopefully for the audience, is we have these quick changes. So we have these bright, glittery costumes with hats and canes and tap shoes, and then we go and they Velcro, and we quickly change to the next one, and it's really fun. So we've done parades, we've been at malls, but really our bread and butter is senior living facilities. So this week I have 2 coming up, and it's really fun. And sometimes some of the seniors, depending on if it's a retirement center or a center with more care, a memory care, for example, they might be sleeping, and all of a sudden we'll play a song they like, and they wake up, and sometimes they start singing and clapping. And one of the things that I brought to our group during our Christmas show, we now do a Hava Nagila, or a little horror thing. So I remember when we were at the Legacy that really someone was sleeping, and they heard the Hava Nagila, and they wake up and they just start singing. And it was just really very inspiring to bring joy to people. So that's one of my fun things to do as well.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I don't know if you can pick a mentor. You're involved in so many things. You probably have several or not.
I have lots of mentors.
Do you?
But one of them, who I mentioned earlier, is my mother-in-law, who's 96. Her name's Bella Garber.
Right.
She is really the most amazing person that anyone's ever met. Everyone loves her. So for 50 years, she worked at Temple Shalom. Did you know her?
I knew her. I worked there also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So she ran their learning center for a while, and she only retired because of COVID. And even after COVID, they asked her to come back, and she decided that I shouldn't be around all those kids. But she is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So she raised 4 kids really by herself. Her husband passed away when my husband was 8 years old, and she had 4 kids. And she did this amazing amazing job. All of them are happily married, and really wonderful people. And to this day, we love to go visit her. She's just an inspiration. Even during the pandemic, we would go to her house, and we would just meet outside. If it's cold, we'd bundle up. And after 2 hours of talking, we would both leave, my husband and I, happy. Because she's like out there, look how blue the sky is. I mean, she's so appreciative and grateful, and just really loves people, and she's, appreciates her religion, and she currently attends all these online classes so she can stay at home. And twice a day she does Lockdown University, which are amazing. It's a free program that anyone can access. And it talks about Jewish themes, it talks about classical music, history, presidents, you name it, they cover it. But it's just amazing. And she has 15 great-grandchildren. And all of her children call and come visit, and she's just an inspiration.
That's wonderful. Does your husband's immediate family, most of them live here?
Most do not. His sister, he has 3 sisters, and his next oldest sister, he's the baby, his next oldest sister, Sarah Lerner, lives a block away from us. So we see them all the time. But the other sisters live in other states, but they all come to visit. So we see them, and it's a really close family. And on Fridays, she gets a lot of calls wishing her Shabbat Shalom. So she's really a wonderful person.
It's a great mentor to have. Before we end, I would like to know your impressions of Dallas when you first came here, and how has it changed now? What have you seen?
I've always loved Dallas. Maybe it helps that I've had a great group of friends here. A lot of our friends came from Texas, UT, and we're still friendly with them today. When you have 40 years of history with people, it makes, a big city a home, a community. So I love Dallas. I think it has everything you need to here. We have to go elsewhere for mountains and
beauty.
Some of the more picturesque things. But I love Dallas. I think the Jewish community is great. My kids started a Jewish preschool, Beth Torah, and we're still there. And interestingly enough, a lot of my son Tommy's class is still there years later. He's currently 29. Oh, and just to tell you the rest of my family, my 2 sons, both are married. One just got married a month ago. And my other one's been married 4 years, and I'm the proud grandmother of 2 grandchildren. So my oldest son has a boy and a girl, and my youngest son just got married a month ago.
Mazel tov.
Yeah, so...
Are they planning on staying here?
Unfortunately, I hope they're going to move back, but one lives in Austin, so that's not bad.
Okay.
And the other lives in New York. And his wife has a lot of family up there, so it's great. But I'm hopeful he'll return to Texas, because one thing about Texas is I was always under the impression that if you're born in Texas, you return to Texas. So I'm hoping that my son that is in New York will come back to Texas. But I love Dallas. I think the people are friendly. There's things in politics, or there's things that I would, prefer change. But I like the people, I like the community. I think there's so many ways to get involved here. And I especially love the Dallas Holocaust and Human Rights Museum. And I would offer any of you, give me a call. I'll give you a tour of the museum.
Thank you. Anything else you want to add before we end? You can think of? Well, thank you for being so involved in our community and for doing this with us. We really appreciate it. And that's it. Continue to grow and enjoy.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.